In today's video, we talk about the difference between core strength and core stability.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com, and this is Steven Beaugrand from ProPhysique.com. And I'm going to link Steven's channel below. Sometimes I forget to do that, but Steven's been putting out some quality content on the tubes as well. So go over there, check his awkwardness out, and enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's cold in Florida. I realize I've been wearing this hoodie from Barbell Brigade for about 4 days in a row now in my videos, but guess what? It's comfy.
Yeah.
And we kind of enjoy the cold weather in Florida because we don't get it very often. So yeah, and our cold is what? It's probably 40 today, right?
Yeah.
We got down in the 30s last night.
Yeah.
So we're chilling, but yeah, so we're in the garage here outdoors, and so yeah, we're gonna wear some hoodies today. But let's talk about the topic, Steven.
All right.
This is Science with Steven, because Steven is an exercise scientist studying for his master's degree. 1 semester left.
That's it.
University of South Florida, which has produced such amazing talents as Chad Dolan and Lauren Conlon and Danny Bove. I can name them all.
Yep.
A lot of great
Jeff
ones.
Dolan.
Oh, Jeff Dolan. I said
Yep.
Chad Dolan. That's Chad Dolan's in Houston. Anyway, I digress. But I thought we would talk a little bit today about the difference between core stability and core strength, because I think the two get mixed up, and there is a big difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So why don't I hand this off to Steve, and we can go into what makes up the core musculature.
Right on. So you're gonna have your stabilizers and then your movers, for just like anything else. So when we talk about core stabilizers, we're talking about the deeper musculatures, things like the transverse abdominis, which is essentially what you're using to do things like brace against. Valsalva maneuver, right? So all powerlifters love the TVA. Then you have the more superior muscles, or the more superficial things like the rectus abdominis and the external obliques, that are kind of more used for movement.
Those are the sexy abs, the
Yeah.
sexy muscles.
Yeah, those are the ones everybody likes to see. And so when we talk about core strength, we're talking about movement, the ability to move things. When we're talking about core stability, we're now talking about all of the musculature that helps stabilize and support the spine.
Yeah.
So core strength is cool, right? Everybody's like, yeah, I need to do core strength exercises so that I can be healthy, right?
Yeah.
And so to a point, yeah, core strength exercises can help you be healthy, but what we really want to focus on for back health, and especially in particular people with lower back pain, I find need to focus on things like planks.
Yeah.
Or more static holds, getting used to activating that deeper musculature to help support the spine. Because at that point, what we see is that the back stabilizers, the erectors, they're doing too much work.
Right.
And that's why they're mad at you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I come across when it comes to like a fitness or a bodybuilder athlete that doesn't have an athletic background, it's like playing sports, is that they become a little bit obsessed with the six-pack because it is a mark of being fit and being in shape. Right. But having a good set of abdominal, rectus abdominis muscles does not necessarily translate into overall core stability, the ability to train and stay healthy, right? So what we're gonna suggest today is that you mix in some core stabilizing exercises along with, you know, some things like decline sit-ups or hanging leg raises or whatever some of your favorite movements are to develop a well-defined core. Because what we want is not only that you have the visual appearance of a six-pack when you get shredded, or whatever 8-pack or 4-pack, whatever your abdominal structure is predefined as through your genetics, as well as, you know, some nice obliques, but we want to know that when you're holding a dumbbell and doing a curl, that you're able to brace properly, all right? That when you're doing a deadlift, that you're bracing properly, that when you put a barbell on your back, that you're actually going to be able to perform the lift safely. And so the plank is probably the easiest one to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plank, and then you can follow that up when you get a little stronger. If you can't do a plank for 1 minute, work up to that. If you can, then you can start doing some plank pull-throughs where you put your arm through, right? What are some other core stabilizing movements that you like to use?
Honestly, I'm really big on dead bugs. Dead bugs are probably one of my favorites. Just because one is they isolate each side. they get the obliques a little better, and they teach you to keep a neutral pelvis.
Yeah.
So that's probably my absolute favorite is probably dead bugs. It's also good, like say if maybe you're having some issues with how your body is recruiting muscle fibers within that bracing pattern. Well, when you get the one side right, your brain actually helps to get the other side right.
Yeah, and what we're saying here with the dead bugs, you can look those up on a YouTube video. Maybe it'd be a good video for us to do in the future. But and planks, it's not that you're doing them; it's that you're doing them right. Okay, like there's a right way and a wrong way. If you're planking properly, you know, you're going to have your elbows at a 90-degree position. You're going to be keeping your body straight, and you're going to be doing that through using the core stabilizer muscles. Same thing with the dead bugs. You don't want to get into a thing where you're using your big movers, your compound muscle groups, to actually perform the movements and to hold you stable, because that's possible as well, especially if the core is kind of the weak link in your training chain. You'll notice an improvement right away if you have a core stability issue and it starts to improve, and it's going to improve pretty rapidly. You will notice right away that you just feel better, stand better, you feel more powerful, strong. Like if you play golf, you're gonna notice better. You know, all the energy that you transfer through your body, like if you're playing a sport like golf or baseball, comes from the ground up, and you have to be able to transfer it through your core. So developing that, although it's not very sexy to sit in the corner of the gym and do your planks, you know, maybe you do them at home when no one's looking, or when you just have a few extra minutes, but don't put them off, okay? Make them a part of a routine that you do a couple times a week.
Yep, absolutely agree.
Now let's talk a little bit about your favorite exercises for the sexy muscles, the core, rectus, abdominis, obliques, those type of things.
Ooh, sexy muscles. So lower, obviously hanging leg raises.
Yep.
And then upper, I really like cable crunches.
Yes, that's a good one.
So I'm a big fan of cable crunches because it doesn't really put a lot of stress on the lower back.
Right.
And it's easy. As long as you're doing them correctly, you can really feel the activation.
And here's the big difference I feel between doing like a decline sit-up and a cable pull down, is that it takes your hip flexors out of it. No matter how hard you try, if you're doing a sit-up of some kind, your hip flexors are going to get involved. And I've run into issues in the past when I was doing like high frequency squatting and deadlifting, and then throwing in some abs, that, you know, I would wear out my hip flexors and strain my back through the overcompensation.
Yep.
Whether or not that's correct, I made the correlation that, yeah, doing a lot of sit-ups, my hip flexors would get sore doing the hips. So I love the cables because you literally don't move your lower body, you just pull. I actually love, there's a machine now in some of the gyms where you kind of get in it, it's a chair and it's positioned, and you put your elbows up and you pull your elbows forward. That locks your lower body in place. So I like things that isolate the core, so you can only move your core, not your legs. But, you know, some of the guys from the 60s and 70s, like Frank Zane and Arnold, they love doing Roman chair sit-ups and stuff like that. Well, that was really, really hip flexor dominant, and you know, when you do those, you really feel it. So just do what you enjoy, do what you feel in your core. Understand that seeing your abs is a combination of having some well-developed muscle there, and also having your body fat. For men, it's going to be under 10% at least, and for women, it's probably going to be under 15%. To see that, now there are going to be variations from person to person, how you store body fat. So anything else, Mr. Steve?
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about hitting the obliques, and if they're trying to get the, you know, maybe that leaner, smaller waist kind of idea.
Okay, what's your thoughts?
So my thoughts, I think they're pretty similar to yours, is that, again, if it's a type 2 fiber and it's exterior, if we do a lot of resistance training on them, they're going to get bigger. So if what you're looking to do is get a smaller waist, in that appearance of a smaller waist, you probably want to stay away from doing a lot of oblique exercises. So when you say oblique exercise, you mean weighted twists? Like the machines where you put resistance and you actually fight against it. Right. I highly agree with that. I happen to have very well-defined obliques, and I credit that probably a lot to do with genetics, but I grew up playing a lot of sports, specifically baseball. Right. And so I was constantly using that. Now, was I using weighted resistance? I mean, I guess a bat that weighs 30 ounces would count, but it's more about just the motion being repeated. So I'm a big believer in athletic movements are going to build the obliques through twisting. I've never once in my life done a intentional resistance twisting movement for that reason. I'm not looking to add thickness to the waist, because even if it's a millimeter or two, it can change the aesthetics of your physique. Absolutely. So now when we talk about core, let's talk a little bit about the back. The lower back.
back, because that comes into play as well, because we're talking about the 360 view.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about the lower back and what in there is actually stabilizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So really what you're going to be looking at, and what most people tend to have issues with, are the multifidi.
Yep.
And those are the very small, short, strong muscles that attach to the actual spine. So normally when we're seeing the issues, it's because those are doing all of the work.
Right.
So pretty much what those are going to get worked on is, one, isometrically in anything like a deadlift or a squat where you have to
Sure.
keep an upright position. So the trick with those, if you really want to get them better, things like hyperextensions will help a little bit as well. But it's that straightening of the spine and extension of the spine. So almost like standing up straight.
Yeah. One thing to do, even as I'm standing here and we're having this conversation, I'm consciously tucking my pelvis underneath,
Yep.
kind of like flexing the glute, pulling the pelvis down under, and I always feel like that's something that I've learned through learning more about the, with powerlifting and all the
Right.
things that I've learned over the years, and even taking the class in kinesiology, biomechanics. You kind of start to pay attention to all the little things that are going on in each movement, and you just get better at them.
Yep.
The video that we did a squat and a deadlift tutorial video with Danny Bove from the Strength Cave, and both times in both videos he talked about bracing and making sure that our spine was neutral by tucking our pelvis, and that's one way that knock on wood, I've avoided back injuries for the last couple of years, anything major. A lot of that just comes with experience and not being a jackass in the gym, but part of that is also that we've learned how to look at ourselves when we train intelligently,
Yes.
strengthen our cores, make sure we're using the muscles, and make sure that we're doing lifts in the most efficient manner possible. Right. You're never going to remove the risk for injury, but you can reduce the risk by doing things properly. If you don't want to get hurt, sit on your damn couch and don't do anything. If you want to build some muscle, there's going to be a little bit of risk there, but you can minimize it to a great degree by just paying attention.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
I think that should cover it for today.
Well, that's it for this week's Science with Steve. So get out there, get your sexy core, but also keep it stable. Until next time, this is Paul and Steven.
All by myself.